Chapter 453, Missing Author. Lumion carefully positioned the mystery, prying glasses on the bridge of his nose, and immediately the room seemed to whirl, and the ground beneath him trembled. Suppressing his nausea and dizziness, he observed the scene before him fragment and overlap, creating a surreal and captivating tableau. The bed pressed against the desk, which seemed to lean against the ceiling. Behind the ceiling appeared to be a tap, as if it were installed within a wardrobe. These scenes were like translucent canvases superimposed on each other, reflecting themselves in Lumion's vision. A pale white face materialized beside the wardrobe. The face had disheveled brown hair, naturally parted. Dark brown eyes glistened beneath black-framed glasses. It was Gabriel, looking cleaned up and as though he hadn't burned the midnight oil in a while. The playwright gazed at Lumion with a vacant, distorted, yet strangely genuine smile. His right hand reached out from the void, waving gently before his face shrank into the depths of the translucent layers, vanishing completely. Lumion quickly surveyed the room, but Gabriel hadn't reappeared. He promptly removed the mystery-prying glasses, replacing them with the eye of truth on his left side. This mystical item, composed of pale white flesh and dark blood vessels, covered the corresponding ear, allowing Lumion to hear rapid voices from the distant horizon. The intertwined purple blood vessels formed a lens that adhered to his eye, revealing faint blood, layers of colors, and the room with a third of it blending into the surroundings. An invisible curtain resembling mullioned glass was also discernible. The latter two phenomena rapidly dissipated, or gradually returned to normal. Before the whispers could become more distinct, Lumion removed the eye of truth and massaged his throbbing forehead. Based on the combined information from both mystical items, he deduced that Gabriel had been corrupted by Hostel, becoming a presence that couldn't be perceived or touched in the conventional sense. However, the playwright retained a certain degree of rationality. He recognized Lumion and even happily bid him farewell. Returning the white porcelain cup with a single handle to its original position seemed to serve as a greeting, an attempt to capture Lumion's attention. Lumion frowned slightly. Why does Gabriel seem to accept his transformation into a monster and was even pleased? When had he come into contact with Hostel? His gaze shifted to the manuscript on the desk. The story and the unfinished script felt eerily familiar. Lumion picked up the manuscript and read it meticulously, at a slower pace than before. After perusing the first section, he confirmed that the protagonist of the script was Gabriel himself. The character's personality, the details of his life, the cold treatment he endured, and the demand to produce vulgar works all aligned seamlessly. Regarding the female lead, who immersed herself in the underworld and persistently encouraged the male lead's creations, Lumion couldn't help but feel that if it weren't for the difference in gender, he could be the one with such a background. However, the female lead's personality, her way of speaking, and her encouraging words were entirely distinct from his own. Even in the scenes involving the mobs, Lumion could discern traces of Charlie. In essence, the female lead's identity, background, and experiences in the mob appeared to be a blend of Charlie's and my situation. It was, however, someone else who interacted with the male lead. Gabriel had previously mentioned that only me and the human model Seraphine encouraged him at Auberge du Coq d'Oreille. Charlie merely drank with him without mocking him or teasing him. A human model, that's right, the human model for a painter. Seraphine spent a night with Gabriel before moving out. Lumion rapidly connected the dots, sensing that the root of the problem might lie with Seraphine, the human model. This woman had once accompanied a painter to a small seaside town as a model. After an extended absence, she returned to Auberge du Coq d'Oreille. Painter. Could Gabriel have been corrupted on that night when Seraphine returned? Was it possible that Seraphine had moved to the hostel? Lumion meticulously perused the script, leaving no word unread. Since this was a story born from Gabriel's own experiences, it undoubtedly contained numerous factual details and genuine emotions, invaluable clues. As Lumion continued to read the script, bathed in the sunlight filtering through the oriel window, he sensed the concealed love that resided within Gabriel's heart. He could feel the ache of remorse, reluctance, and the yearning for a relationship that Gabriel believed he could easily discard when he moved to a better neighborhood to start anew. In the end, he found himself unable to forget it. The protagonist, increasingly aware of his heart's true desires and feelings, ceased to evade them and actively embarked on a quest to uncover traces of his beloved. He sought out people who were acquainted with her, visited motels and hotels that occasionally haunted his dreams, and explored galleries in search of new artworks based on his lover. Yet his endeavors proved futile, leading him to compose the inner monologue. It ended here abruptly. I can't tell if he found Seraphine. Lumion placed the manuscript down in disappointment and decided to check the drawer for any drafts, outlines, or notebooks that might contain further information or inspiration. Regrettably, the contents of the drawer only covered the first half of the script. By the time Gabriel had reached the second half, he appeared to have delved deeply into his emotions and penned his inner monologue in a single burst. Lumion looked at the papers before him, pondering the situation. From the script and the other items in the room, it's apparent Gabriel hadn't managed to locate Seraphine. In other words, he hadn't actually come into contact with the hostel. Furthermore, neither the script nor Rabe's description suggests that Gabriel exhibited any signs of corruption or boons until he ceased writing. While he was undoubtedly suffering from the loss of his lover, this was a typical emotional response. So, why had this person suddenly transformed into an untouchable, unseen monster? Just knowing about the hostel shouldn't lead to such a situation. Apart from me being special, Franca and Jenna know about the hostel. Anthony Reed, Teresa, the Demoness sect member in Trier, Mr. K of the Aurora Order, and a large number of purifiers of the Eternal Blazing Sun Church all know about it. There are ordinary people and beyonders among them, but none of them are in trouble. Beatrice of the Bliss Society knows the location of the hostel and aims to retrieve a painting, which was the reason Franca and I made a mistake. Bouvard of the Sinners prophesied a catastrophe associated with the hostel, leading to his corruption into a peculiar corpse. The Dreamseekers charity organization likely sponsored heretics connected to the hostel, such as painters and authors, and they were destroyed at the slightest hint of exposure. What was the reason for Gabriel? Could he have recently encountered something that deepened his understanding of the hostel, or perhaps he had found traces of Seraphine? Lumion made a preliminary guess and conducted a thorough search of Gabriel's rented apartment with a clear objective in mind. Nothing. He then left 34 Rue Saint-Michel and made his way back to the third-rate author bar, where he seated himself next to Rabe, who was engrossed in his drink. A glass of La Fée Verte, Lumion ordered as he tapped the bar counter. Then he turned to Rabe and inquired, "Do you have any idea where Gabriel has been over the past few days?" Rabe pointed to a small round table near the window and replied, "You'll have to ask them." As an underprivileged author working as a ghostwriter without a pen name, Rabe considered himself fortunate to know a rising star like Gabriel and attend his private gatherings. He had to work regularly every day to fulfill the missions assigned by his boss, preventing him from participating in their activities. Guided by Rabe, Lumion approached the small round table and was taken aback upon seeing the 4 individuals seated there. Weren't these the same individuals who had discussed Painter Mullen's art spoof art, Café? In response to Lumion's inquiry, the leader of the group responded with a puzzled expression. "We last saw Gabriel 2 days ago. We all went to the Trier Art Center together to attend an art exhibition." Art exhibition, Lumion's eyebrows twitched. Trocadero town. Franca, dressed in a white jacket, followed Brown's Sauron, who wore a black coat, as they navigated through the manor adorned with grapevines. With curiosity evident on her face, Franca, who had been invited, couldn't help but ask, "Where are you taking me?" Brown's cast a brief glance in her direction. "I'm taking you to meet my teacher. You've successfully passed the assessment and are now an official member of our sect." Brown's Sauron's teacher, a high-ranking demoness. Could this person be the leader of the demoness sect in Trier? Franca's thoughts raced as she smiled and inquired, "Does this mean I can enjoy the membership perks?" The term perks was coined by Emperor Roselle and had gained recognition in Intis. Brown's maintained a bit of distance from Franca as she questioned, "What would you like in exchange?" Without hesitation, Franca responded, "The potion formula for affliction." Affliction was the name of the Assassin Pathways Sequence 5, often referred to as the Demoness of Affliction. Browns let out a scoff. Quite bold to make such a request. Do you believe you have accrued enough contribution points to ask for the potion formula for affliction? She paused for a moment before adding, of course, if you can assist the sect in achieving something, this can be your perk. Franca, who had initially held limited hope and was merely testing the waters, glanced at Browns. And what's that something? Seizing the opportunity, Browns explained, we've received information that the Iron and Blood Cross Order discreetly smuggled an item into Trier through an underground tunnel several months ago. If you can uncover what it is and identify its possessor, you'll be entitled to the Affliction Potion formula. A few months ago, the underground tunnel secret delivery into Trier Franca suddenly recalled Rat, Christo's loss of his biological brother. In an effort to aid the Savai mob's smuggling leader in recovering his brother and the transported goods, she and Lumion had been drawn into a strange mirror world where they narrowly escaped. During their adventure, Franca had acquired a classic sterling silver mirror.